Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. And we are back.
We are back.
I'm Jason Kreidman.
I'm Alan Bush.
And this is Dudes to Dads. Again. Again. It feels like yesterday.
Right.
Or tomorrow.
Or
last week.
Yeah.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Dudes to Dads. That's not sarcasm.
No.
I'm being honest.
Sure.
I am excited about this.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going on. Good. Off-topic stuff, on-topic stuff, but just all kinds of things going on around here. Mm-hmm. But we come together as one to disseminate the information that the world needs.
Okay. It's a lot of dramatic.
That's actually a pretty good slogan.
It wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't so dramatic.
Yeah, I know. Actually, isn't the slogan what they don't teach us in school?
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So tonight's topic, 11 tips to help you deal with aging parents.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So it's a serious one.
Yeah, a little bit.
We like to have fun, serious stuff.
Yeah.
I mix it up. You know, I live on the edge.
I like it.
So, watching your parents age isn't easy. Mm-hmm. We have our own, as we have our own children and they grow, you begin to see your parents aging as well. We become adults and the dynamics of the relationship can change. And, it can be difficult to go through that change. And so I wanted to create a list, and it's interesting. It's like a lot of people around me, it seems to be happening with. Yeah. I lost my mother 5 years ago, but that was to, cancer. It wasn't to old age per se.
Right.
So it's just interesting. I was just hanging out with a friend and they have a parent that, is ill. And it's like just seeing this kind of stuff happening now more.
Yeah, because your friends are getting older.
Yeah, it's like we're all just kind of getting older and just the reality.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make this list of how, as the dad, we can deal with this and kind of, maybe keep ourselves emotionally stable, if you will, and not get as affected by it. So, So the first thing is to take things slow. Mm-hmm. And, that means you're going to have patience where I know for myself, like I don't have a lot of patience in a lot of situations, but if I know ahead of time, it's like with my kids, I know getting ready in the morning is going to take longer.
Right.
I just know. So if my kids are involved, I have to tell myself beforehand and say, hey, listen, I know it's going to take a little extra time. It's kind of the same thing when you have an aging parent. Yeah. Things may take a lot longer than you planned, whether that's to go somewhere or traveling or just sitting around, whatever. So they may move pretty slow. And so you got to be considerate of that.
Yeah.
So number 2, be empathetic that change is hard. So, you have to put yourself in their shoes and realize that it's really difficult for them often to see themselves changing like that.
Sure.
To be getting old, it could be that they are being, not forced, but, to downsize where they live.
Yeah.
Because they could live in, let's say, in a place that has a lot of stairs and they're going to a one level. Yeah. It could be going to like a senior center or something. It's not necessarily easy. So the idea is to just be empathetic. Instead of trying to convince them that everything's going to be so much fun and better, it'll be so much easier. But like, you don't have to necessarily try to do that. Yeah. It's more about like, hey, I can understand this is a difficult time, and
yeah, this sucks.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally. Third thing, ask for help. So, don't try to do everything yourself. I think as the child, and then, now an adult that we're still the child, but we feel because we're capable or because even sometimes financially or whatever, like we feel like we are obligated and we do as, we feel that way. It's okay to ask for help and ask for other people, so that could be other family members. It could be friends, or even if it gets to the stage of a caregiver, and asking for help. If someone needs to be hired for a more permanent assistance, consider that if you have that option. Just know that it's okay to ask other people for help rather than thinking that like you have to do it all yourself.
Sure.
I was listening to a story and they were talking about it was some siblings, and they were talking about how the one sibling lived far away and the other sibling was right next to him, and so that became a little bit of a friction, just from that standpoint of like they feel like they have to do it all themselves. There's nobody else to do it. So that can be difficult too. Number 4, understand that they are going to forget things. So this can be really hard. You can find yourself repeating things over and over, and
depending on the level of what's happening.
Yeah, sort of what's going on, and it may be something
that comes with age. I mean, that comes with sometimes you just forget things.
Absolutely,
even as
and it becomes more prominent as they get older. So, it doesn't even necessarily have to mean that they have dementia. It just your memory becomes less and less. And if you're dealing with dementia, that's a whole other level. But just memory loss in general is a thing that happens, And so it could be something like you're having a conversation and then all of a sudden it gets repeated again.
Yeah.
You just talked about it.
Yeah.
So
I thought about that. Yeah, my grandfather, he passed and he's 95, so he's fortunate to live that long. And he was lucid and totally fine up until the stage that he passed. And there would be things that he'd forget, and he'd get frustrated. He was like, he couldn't remember any of that store that he used to go to all the time. And he'd be like, what? Jeez, I know the name of that store. I go there every day. Right. And it's just little things like that would go slip his memory. And I'm like, I know you want to remember that. That sucks.
No, that's got to be hard. Yeah. It's got to be hard. Their memories are just going to be affected as they get older. So sort of be understanding of that.
For sure.
Number 5, they might just be in denial. So that's
about aging.
Well, yeah.
I don't age.
I mean, it's hard to, I think, admit that you need help.
Yeah.
Or that you're getting older. Sometimes it's hard to admit that you can't do the things that you once did.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing.
And so you're kind of in denial. I mean, it's like, no, I can do it. I'm fine. Or and you'll see that. You'll see that happen.
Yeah.
So I think that can be the case, and just realize that they might be going through that or feel that way.
Sure.
Number 6, be aware that you might feel angry or scared. Mm-hmm. So there's potentially a lot of emotion that comes from that. And that happened with me. Granted, my mother was going through sickness, but I remember going through a period of anger.
Yeah.
And then, of course, being scared, like, well, what am I going to do if like this person's not around? Like, how is that going to work?
Yeah.
And you start really worrying about a lot of things that way. Just know that, these feelings are most likely going to come up, and that it's okay. Instead of getting upset that you're having the feeling, because that'll happen too, where you're like, why am I can't believe I'm so, I'm feeling so mad or whatever.
Just allow yourself to feel it.
Allow yourself to feel that.
And then understand it's not your fault.
Yeah. And things subside when you allow yourself to feel it.
Yeah, that's a very Zen thing. I mean, the more you really allow yourself to feel things, the less you feel them in a weird way, because you just accept that.
Isn't that weird?
It's happening. Yeah, it's such a strange dynamic, but it works.
It's not easy to deal with, seeing the change. So, the roles are changing potentially. You're just dealing with a different type of relationship. The dynamic of the relationship could be different. And they might not be able to do the same things that they used to.
Yeah.
I recalled, like, when my mom was sick, I remember this was early on too. She wasn't able to bring groceries like into the house, like her arm hurt or something. And I got mad at that. I was young. This is when I think she had first diagnosed with it.
Yeah.
And I remember getting mad at that. Now looking back, it was stupid. But at the time, the reason I got mad is that I didn't understand why she couldn't be the person that she was.
Right.
It was like a subconscious thing of like, she's always been so strong and capable. And all of a sudden now she can't do it. Like, what do you mean you can't do it? Like, I was it was like late teens or something, So I really didn't understand the emotions that I was feeling.
Right.
So that can happen, even whether it's, you're young or you're even older. You start to feel these other emotions that you just hadn't felt before.
Yeah.
Like, why all of a sudden am I pissed off at my parents? Where, I don't get it. So yeah, so it can be weird. Number 7, there could be financial stress.
Sure.
Depending on what they've done from a planning standpoint, insurance, long-term care, those kinds of things. And you might want to seek advice, some professional advice or so. There's experts who specialize in helping older people with finances. And so you want to make sure too, just as a note, like you want to make sure that if they are getting that much older, that the financial burden's not going to be on you.
Right.
That's taking on something as well, that if there wasn't proper planning, then you start getting into like a guilt thing or however, and feel obligation to like all of a sudden take care of them. And it's like, that can be quite a burden financially for you as well.
Sure.
So you got to kind of, you got to face that stuff. And that's hard.
It is.
Like the reality of that.
Right.
And even talking about that.
Forces you to be an adult for sure. Who wants to do that?
No, thank you. Number 8, help them be social. So this is including, grandparents. If they're grandparents, that's awesome. Well, you're talking, if you're listening, you're a dad, so you probably have grandparents. They're probably grandparents.
Yeah, but there may be a grandparent.
But just a male, if you have a dad.
Yeah, right.
Or a mom. Just including them in the social activities. It's it could be your children's events, or just hanging out.
Yeah, going back to my grandfather. Like someone that my father's at a good age. He's healthy, he's fit. So he's not. He shows sign of aging, but he's not showing signs of like deteriorating per se. But with my grandfather, at those last years, he, it was great to kind of go out with him and take him to the bar that he likes to go to. Yeah. The month before he died, I took him to the bar he liked to go to. At first, cool. I thought, my mother was saying he didn't want to go. He's getting older. His leg hurts.
Yeah.
And then he's like, she text me back. He's like, no, he actually wants to go there. Actually, I misspoke. and sure enough, he was having trouble getting in the car because his leg hurt. But he was, he was totally ripe and making jokes and got him in there, and we had a couple of drinks and played Keno and just hung out.
Yeah, and there's going to be, I'm sure, some people that are like, no, and they want to be recluse.
Yeah,
and you can't force somebody to do something. No, you can't force.
And I was fortunate where he is a social guy. So
but that doesn't mean you want to stop asking unless they tell you to stop asking. But it's like, hey, do you want to do this? Or hey, I thought or you just go there and hang out. I mean, being social means maybe they don't want to leave their house.
No, that's a great point too. Is that even just hanging out and talking about things and what happened today, or I remember when this happened when I was a kid or whatever. You can kind of
So my father and his wife do Meals on Wheels.
Oh yeah,
and so they bring the meals to elderly people and then have conversation and talk with them. And so when my kids go up there, they get a chance to do that.
That's great.
And they just, both sides love it.
Yeah,
My kids
beneficial.
They're like, this woman was 93 years old. Like my son couldn't believe it.
That's so old.
And then on the other hand, these older people see these young kids that they may or may not have their own, grandkids or great grandkids. And so they get a chance to interact. And it's just that chance to be social and just interact with people. Yeah. Because, if you're older, you might be a little bit more recluse and you're confined to a chair or something like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Number 9, be sure they have a plan. And obviously this is up to them, but you want to kind of check in with this. And really this is about their medical directives. Mm-hmm. Do they have a plan, estate planning, wills, power of attorney kind of stuff? It's best to do these kinds of things earlier rather than later when somebody's, they understand what's going on.
Sure.
And it can be really uncomfortable to talk about this stuff, and it's, but it's going to save a lot of hassle in the long run.
Yeah.
Just going over that and avoiding probate and all the other, I'm learning about all this stuff. Just avoiding a lot of that stuff that you have to deal with when that time comes, what kind of health things do they want in their older age? How do they want to live their older life? And so it's sometimes it's just not fun to talk about.
No, of course not. But
you're better off talking about it.
Yeah, get it out of the way if you can.
Yeah, sweep it under the rug. Number 10, you will feel guilty.
Yeah.
Whether this is parent-induced guilt. In other words, they make you feel, nobody can make you feel guilty, but they can certainly influence it.
Sure.
Or you just innately feel guilty yourself. This usually has to do with two things, how much time you spend with them and how you treat them. Right. So, if you live far away, this is going to especially ring true, like where you you're just not close. And so you don't have the chance to spend enough time. So you might feel guilty for not spending enough time with them. And just especially as they're in their older age, maybe, I need to go see them again and sort of that.
Yeah.
You may also get frustrated or upset with them for some reason, and then feel guilty about getting upset with them.
Sure.
Kind of like I think how I explained with my mom. I remember afterwards later feeling so guilty for getting upset at her in those situations and apologizing, because it just was like, I don't know what I was thinking,
Yeah.
But until you realize that, you might feel that guilt.
Yeah.
So just accept how you are feeling and let go of what you can't control. Because some of the stuff you can't control, obviously if you live far away, you have that option. Well, hey, can you live closer? Is that realistic?
Sure.
That may not be realistic in the situation, you know? So maybe you just make some plans to visit or talk, or at a minimum talk.
Yeah.
Skype.
Yeah. Now the technology's got to get them hip.
Yeah. Facebook Messenger.
Facebook
or
Live. What was that? The iTunes one?
FaceTime.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, we're old. Yeah. And number 11, the last one, focus on the present. So, everybody will say, especially as with your own kids, that time goes really fast.
Yeah.
And so you really want to focus on the moments that you have and enjoy that time that you're able to spend with them. Don't spend the time worrying about what's going to happen or the future. And this is totally easier said than done.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because especially when they're getting old, you start thinking, I can't believe what's going to happen. How are we going to deal with this? But just try to enjoy the moment. Otherwise, a lot of those moments are going to get ruined with the thinking. Down the line.
Right. Exactly.
You just really want to focus on the present.
Yeah.
That's something important. So if anybody has any tips of stuff that they've dealt with, what do you suggest they do?
I suggest they write to us. And then maybe at podcast at dudesdads.com. Also, get in touch with us through social media, Facebook, dudesdads.com, Twitter at dudesdads. And then if you're really feeling like you want to be a part of the show, please go to Stitcher, iTunes, and or YouTube and subscribe to those channels. And then leave some comments if you can. With iTunes and Stitcher, it's more important. It helps move the show along in the rankings. But all three of those areas would be great for you.
And pass it out to your friends.
Yeah.
Show the love and tell your friends, hey, you know what? I've been listening to this. I think you should listen to it also.
Absolutely.
And we welcome women to listen also.
Right.
I don't care who listens, as long as people are listening.
If you're getting something out of it, great.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's funny actually, because I've gotten some feedback and comments from women that just love to listen to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is cool. Some of it's just to hear a little bit of the insight of how dads think.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just that we are incredibly entertaining. I don't know. I think it's the first one.
A combination. Column A and column B, I think.
Yeah. Or just Alan has a really good voice.
Maybe that's the reason.
And with that, Alan, thank you.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time.
See you next week.